So let me ask you this, honey.
Mm-hmm.
When you and Annika connected around electronics and video games, and you essentially shifted from the outside to the inside, did that alleviate that feeling of being the stranded stranger?
Totally. The interesting piece was for me, and you know, we're a pretty simple step family. We've got one child that was pre-existing, and then we have two together. But even in that case, what I found was that the more that I was able to build connection and bridges with Annika, the less I felt on the outside, stranded from that bond that the two of you had.
Yeah.
And then that actually created more connection between me and you. Welcome to the Blended Family Coaching Show, where you'll discover how to move your step family from just surviving to truly thriving.
Grab your headphones and listen in as we share practical, real-life strategies for building healthy bonds,
Understanding the kids' perspective,
romance and partnership,
parenting with great teamwork.
and yes, even co-parenting with a difficult ex.
We're Mike and Kim Anderson, and we believe with the right tools, every step couple can overcome the common challenges of step family life.
Join us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations to discover how you can lead your family with confidence and create the future you really want.
Well, hey, welcome to episode 23. We are so excited to be with you once again.
Welcome back.
Now, you know, we've been noticing that there's been a few ratings and reviews trickling in, and we are so grateful for that. Thank you so much. We would also love to ramp that up a bit. And so at the time of this recording, we've received 23 ratings on iTunes, and we want to double that by the end of March.
Sure.
And what that does is it helps other people to discover this podcast as a resource, because it starts to elevate us in the whole podcast world. So if you could help us get to that 50 ratings or reviews by the end of March, we would really appreciate it.
That's the goal.
That's right. So if you're listening on iTunes, would you just scroll down and give us a star rating? It really literally will only take you a couple of seconds. If you want to take just another step further and help a little bit more, you might consider leaving a review and telling us why you left the star rating that you did. We want to keep improving on the quality of what we deliver to you, and we really do thrive on your feedback, and it helps us to do that. So help us reach those 50 reviews by the end of March. 50 ratings by the end of March, and consider also leaving a review. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Well, hey, let's jump into this episode. And, you know, as we started talking about what to do for this episode, we realized that a lot of us heading into blended family life, we kind of think that it's just going to be great to blend, right?
Yeah.
I'm using my little air quotes here that we're going to blend.
Yeah, I went in thinking that this was going to be simple.
Of course. Well, hey, it's right in the name, blended family, right? Okay,
How
so of course
hard
we're
could
going
it
to
be?
blend. Yeah,
it turns out
that means
not as easy.
To a lot of us, it means, okay, you and me, your kids and my kids are all going to blend into one happy family. And then often we get blindsided by the different realities that hits, and nothing really feels like it's blending at all, right?
It's much more complicated than we think it's going to be. It really is. Now, for the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about the dynamic that we call being a trapped teammate, kind of on the inside, or that stranded stranger on the outside. And if you're not sure what we're talking about here, please go back and listen to episode 21. And this is so important to learn about this dynamic because every step couple is going to experience this to some degree. Now, we talked about understanding each other, having empathy for each other when this dynamic kicks off. And last week, we talked about the importance of growing our romantic relationship and how this can really help to reduce a lot of the tensions in this dynamic.
Sure.
But this week, we're going to focus on how the trapped teammate and stranded stranger impacts us when the whole family is together. That's when it can really spike. And we're going to give you a powerful strategy to help.
That's right. You know, I said it before, one of the common desires we have is to focus on blending, really getting the family to spend a whole lot of time together. And more than just spending time together, We want to actually enjoy it.
Yeah,
right?
we want to have fun.
Now, there's times where we do. I mean, we've had a
Sure.
blast as a family, but there's other times where it's really challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we've learned, not only from what the experts tell us, but even just anecdotally with the different couples that we've met with over the years, often the tension that we feel as a family is highest when everyone is together, right? And then when that tension grows and it's really high, that's when we often get pushed into this trapped teammate, stranded stranger dynamic. And we feel that chasm between us as a couple start to grow rather than feeling like we're blending or connecting.
Yeah, the biological divide and the relational divide starts to happen when the tensions are really high when everyone's together.
That's right. So we're going to challenge you to start thinking about, rather than blending, kind of in that way that most of us think about it or want to think about it, we actually want to shift in a way that's going to invite the stranded stranger into a point of connection, and we're going to allow the trapped teammate to kind of be freed up a little bit. Now, I just want to say, before we head any farther into this episode, we're going to be highly focused on the stranded stranger, on that step parent who's feeling stuck or stranded on the outside. But there's real value in it for the trapped teammate as well. So don't tune out if you feel more like a trapped teammate. Yeah. We're just going to stay focused there.
Yeah. We also want to say that this strategy works best when you're working together as a team to strategize around how you're going to implement this into your family. Now, expert Patricia Papernow says that step families meet these challenges not by blending, but by compartmentalizing.
That's right.
Yeah, let me say that again. Not by blending, but by compartmentalizing. It's counterintuitive. It's a different mindset. And she gives us a great strategy that we're talking about today. She calls it shift, don't blend. So I just want to read to you something that Patricia Papernow wrote herself on the shift, don't blend strategy. She says this: look for family activities that bring outsiders together and shift insiders out. So, for example, if mom and her daughters are expert skiers and stepdad's a beginner, a family ski vacation will actually elevate stepdad's outsider position, leaving him skiing alone on the bunny slopes, right? Again, he's the outsider in the family.
Poor stepdad.
So in this situation, ski trips will be best saved for special mom and daughter bio time together. On the other hand, if a stepfather and stepdaughter are excellent ice skaters and mom's a klutz, ice skating, this type of activity, shifts stepdad into the insider position to whiz off with his stepdaughter around the rink, and it shifts mom into that outsider position for a bit as she's clinging to the rink.
Yeah,
which
just
is
temporarily.
Yeah, which is okay because she's the insider with both of them.
Yeah, that's right.
So interesting, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so that's kind of the overview of what shift, don't blend looks like. And this is a strategy that we dive deeper into and we teach in our course called Step Families That Work. And it's great. And we see like the light bulbs go on for couples as we teach it. And we really enjoy being able to do that. But then we also often get that question of, okay, well, how do we actually live that out? Like, how do we actually do it?
Yeah, it makes sense, but it's hard to get your mind around how you.
That's right. And so we get to help them along, figuring out how to do that. And we're going to share some of how to do that here on this episode today.
With 5 steps.
The rest of our time together, we're going to give you 5 steps for implementing this shift, don't blend strategy into your family. So let's go ahead and dive into that.
What's step one?
The first thing that we're going to do is when that step parent feels that stranded stranger feeling come on, we want to just identify what's actually going on. What is physically happening around us when we feel that stranded stranger. What are the
circumstances?
Yeah. Maybe it's like at one of the kids' sports games or their music recital or a dance recital. I remember when Annika used to play basketball, and especially back in the years when you and your ex got along really well, and we would sit together and Kim would really get into the game. I was not as much a vocal person, jumping around and yelling and screaming. But there were times where I kind of felt like I was stranded on the outside a little bit as she and her ex interacted, and she was really into that. It could be around just regular stuff, routine things like bedtime.
Sure.
I think I shared that a couple weeks ago. How when Kim and Annika had their bedtime routine, there were times where I was like out on the couch by myself, and I kind of wanted to be a part of it, and I felt stranded.
Would you say there were sometimes feelings of jealousy?
Yeah, there might have been at that time, more around, I wanted time with you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can be challenging.
But that's a situation where the parent and the child, the bio relationships, kind of have their groove, the things that they've been doing for years, their routines, their traditions. And now the step parent enters the scene and they're on the outside of that groove or that vibe that the bios have. And that can increase the feeling
Absolutely.
of that stranded stranger.
Yeah.
Simple things.
Absolutely. Simple. Like the bio parents helping their kids with homework. I mean, super simple things so take note of those things. Yeah. It could be any number of things. It could be something that the bio parent and the child both have a real strong interest or passion about, or maybe it's just something that they both have high skill in that they can easily do together. Or maybe it actually is a combination of both.
Like Patricia's example of the ski trip.
Right. But the first thing we want to do as a stranded stranger is note when that feeling comes up, what is actually happening? What's going on around us? Maybe even keep a little journal or a log for a couple of weeks and really identify that.
Yeah. We've noted before that these feelings are intense. Mm-hmm. They are high emotional intensity, and sometimes it's confusing because the stranded stranger doesn't really understand, why do I feel so angry or so discarded or like a piece of furniture in my own home. They don't understand why it's so intense.
Right. And feeling like a stranger in your own home is intense and it is common for step families. Or for step parents. I want you to know that. I've felt it many, many times. And we also sometimes just feel stupid because it's over little things a lot of the time. If that's you, it's okay. We're going to keep going here. So identify what's going on and write it down. Yeah. So what's step 2?
Step 2 is get together as a couple and decide about the level of importance of those activities. Whatever it is that you identified in step 1, what is the importance of this activity for bio parent and child? Now, if it's not a big deal, if it's just some silly little thing, you might consider reducing the amount of time and the focus on that particular activity.
Sure. Like, if we don't need to do that. It's not a big deal.
If it's okay with parent and with child.
Yep.
But if it's important, then you may need to shift that activity itself to a one-on-one time for the bio parent and their bio child. Like Patricia suggests that maybe family ski vacation is not the best idea, but that could be a one-on-one activity or adventure.
So you're compartmentalizing. Rather than blending.
Now, you've got to be careful about how you do this, because if this is something you decide to do, and it's a good opportunity for the bios to get together, you also want to make this a good opportunity to give the step parent a break.
Sure, you can be intentional about that.
Sure, maybe they could use some self-care or connect with friends or get some time for solitude, depending on what really fills their tank. But you don't want to just disappear and leave them hanging, because that's going to push them even further into that outsider position. You want to talk. You want to strategize. Okay, when I take my kids on the ski trip, which we enjoy doing, what is it that feeds you? What can you be doing to help you?
Totally. Yeah. Sometimes, like you said, solitude's great and people want to hang out at home. I'm a big connector. I'm an extrovert. So if you take off for the weekend with your daughter, I'm feeling like stuck and stranded.
Yeah, and alone.
So I have to be very careful with that and say, you know what, this is valuable time for Kim and Annika to spend together. And so who can I connect with that maybe I don't connect with very often? I'm going to go to dinner. I'm going to go to a movie. I'm going to go to coffee with a friend. And really connect with people that I care about. But that fills me. So I'd
you want to make that also valuable time for the step parent to get a break. It needs to be valuable times for both sides.
Yeah. So the first 2 steps is figuring out how to really compartmentalize where we're taking those things that make a stranded stranger or a step parent feel like a stranded stranger. And we're either reducing those things or we're compartmentalizing them so that they become quality one-on-one time between the bio relationships. Now, the next few steps are really going to be about how we bring step relationships together, a step parent and a stepchild.
How we shift the outsider to the inside.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate the skills or the interests that might exist for both the step parent and the stepchild.
That's step 3.
That's step 3. Is there a hobby or a pastime that both the step parent and stepchild like?
Already enjoy. Huh?
Yeah. Is there something new that maybe you've been talking about or wanting to try together? Maybe you could do that together as a team. This was really valuable for us when Annika was younger. And she started to get to that age where she was curious about electronics like computers and, phones weren't quite, they were getting there, but it was really about laptops and video games and stuff. I got to take the lead with that with Annika, because I'm into that. Kim, if you would have told her 20 years ago that we were going to be podcasters, that's too much tech for her.
No, I was not interested in electronics or video games.
Yeah. So I got to take the lead, and Annika was really interested, and we had a lot of fun, especially in the beginning when I pulled out some of the old, original Nintendo games, Mario and stuff. We had a blast just playing games together, and she got to learn along the way. So looking for those new things that you want to try together. Or really simply, is there something you're both really good at? If you're both happen to be into music, how can you play music together?
Or
if
athletics.
you both happen to be into athletics, baseball, or, if you're a runner, and your stepchild is a runner, man, what a great opportunity to connect, to just go on a run together. Find those things that you're both good at and start scheduling some time to do that.
So let me ask you this, honey. When you and Annika connected around electronics and video games, and you essentially shifted from the outside to the inside, did that alleviate that feeling of being the stranded stranger?
Totally. The interesting piece was for me, and we're a pretty simple step family. We've got one child that was pre-existing, and then we have 2 together. But even in that case, what I found was that the more that I was able to build connection and bridges with Annika, the less I felt on the outside, stranded from that bond that the 2 of you had.
Yeah.
And then that actually created more connection between me and you. I was more willing and I wanted to connect with you even more. And then it just kept going round and round.
Yeah.
Then the more I connected with you, the more I wanted to connect with Annika, and so on.
Because now your pain is coming down.
Exactly.
Because you're feeling more connected.
Yep.
That's great.
Totally. So that's step 3, evaluating the skills and the interests that exist for both the step parent and the stepchild. We're identifying those things that we might be able to connect on. What's the 4th step? We're so excited to let you know about something brand new we've created just for you.
We've realized that with so many episodes available here on the show, it might feel a bit overwhelming to find the topics that matter most to you. That's why we've created a simple tool for you to receive a personalized playlist focused on your current struggle or your biggest challenge.
That's right. It's called the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz. You'll answer just a few questions, and based on your responses, we'll email you a curated custom playlist of episodes that are specific to you.
This simple quiz will direct you to the most impactful episodes that pertain to you personally and keep you on track in your journey of discovery, learning, and growth. So, scroll all the way to the bottom of the show notes for this episode and click the link to take the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz today.
Okay, let's get back to the discussion.
Well, the 4th step is to simply choose one of those things.
What's the key word there?
One,
yeah.
Don't get overwhelmed here. It doesn't have to be complicated. Choose one of those things that you were able to brainstorm and invite your stepchild to join you.
Yeah.
So really decide as a couple, first of all, if this is something that you're going to invite your stepchild to do one-on-one, just between the 2 of you, and that's kind of allowing that trapped teammate to shift to the outside for a time and the freedom to back out.
Yeah.
And, in those times when you and Annika connected around electronics, that was a great time for me to go and do some self-care.
Yeah, you went to took a bath or something like that.
I love that. I'm an extrovert and I love having time alone.
No, you're an introvert.
Oh, an introvert. Yeah. Sorry. You're the extrovert.
That's right.
I'm the introvert. So it was great for me to have some alone time. Or the other option is, will the bio parent be present?
Yeah.
So maybe they're just more on the sidelines, allowing the step parent to take the lead, to be the point person, to do the major connecting, but the bio parent is there. You really need to talk about the comfort level of the child and what you think would be best.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. Maybe you're just going to be the picture taker, or you're going to be the cheerleader for whatever's going on, whatever it is on the sidelines. But the point is to really connect the step parent and the stepchild.
Yeah. You're stepping back and allowing the step parent to take that insider role, which is great. And then make it happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Get it on the calendar and plan an actual time when you're going to do this one thing. And again, it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing.
That's right.
The key is to take a step forward. Don't let weeks and weeks go by thinking, oh yeah, we should do that someday. Really, if you want to make a big dent in this dynamic, this trapped teammate, stranded stranger, you've got to take action.
Yeah.
It doesn't just dissipate on its own. And this is actually an easy action step as long as you follow what we're telling you to do and don't get overwhelmed. Keep it simple.
That's right. Okay. The fifth step, it's the most important step. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, don't give up.
Do this over and over again. If you feel yourself feeling stranded stranger, write it down. Identify what it is. Talk to your partner. What can we do to reduce this? Then keep looking for those things that might allow the step parent and the stepchild to connect, and choose one and
go for it.
And just keep doing this over and over again, because kids need you to keep showing up.
Yeah.
It's really easy at times for us to want to throw in the towel if things don't go well, if there's tension,
or we're
if
frustrated.
All of those frustrations that hit, we might want to throw in the towel. And you know what? We sit here and we talk on this podcast, and you're listening and you're going, yeah, that sounds all great. It's nice and buttoned up and super easy, right? But you just don't get it. It's not that simple. There might be a few things that you're going,
and we understand,
hey, this isn't going to work for us, and here's why. And we get that. And so let's talk about a few of those things.
Yeah.
Like one of the common things we hear is, you know what? As from a step parent, I don't have anything in common with my stepchild.
Yeah.
Right. And
we have no interest.
Really challenging. Yeah. Well, we would challenge you back to say, well, how can you get creative and get on their level?
Yeah.
Like we know one stepmom who's had this exact thing, don't we?
She was really struggling to connect with her stepson because her other kids were really into sports and video games and activities, whereas the stepson was very studious. He didn't necessarily want to be outside or playing sports. He was more into science and reading and that type of thing. So she had to make some sacrifices on her part, really, and make a mature choice to get down in his world, to try to understand what the world looks like through his eyes.
That's right. And the best thing that she did there is she took the first step. She moved toward him rather than expecting him to move toward her.
Yeah.
And as adults, we have to do that. It can be hard. We can feel really frustrated that our stepchildren aren't making any effort to connect with us. But the reality is we're in the lead. And so that's what she did really well, was just taking that step and not letting that surface level, oh, well, we don't have anything in common, totally break down the opportunity to make some connections. So get creative, find something that you can connect on, and just get down on their level. And, one really simple way to do that is to, when they're doing something that they really seem to enjoy.
When they're doing their thing.
Ask them about what they're doing and just show some interest. Be curious about what they're doing. And if you're having a hard time, keep in mind that keep your goal in line. What you're really after here is you're looking for a 5-minute positive interaction.
Sure.
If that's all you need, that's a first step, and it's a great step. rather than, oh, we got to go make this big day-long outing where by the end we're going to be irritated with each other, right?
And exhausted.
No, it's just a 5-minute positive conversation about the thing that they're interested in. That curiosity really speaks volumes to them, and then keep doing it.
Yeah, and that's what this stepmom did. They had given this child a science kit for his birthday because that's what he wanted, and she took the time to get down on his level and look through the microscope and ask him, "What are you looking at? Tell me about this." Even though she had no personal interest in science, she was interested in him.
And that was just a first step to moving forward.
It was.
And they're doing a lot better
They had
now.
some breakthroughs there. All right. So another thing that can get in the way of us moving forward with this strategy is this fear of, what if my stepchild turns down my invitation and rejects me? And that's so hard.
And it's not just the fear, like also they actually sometimes do say no.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
The reality. So we want to say first and foremost, don't give up and try not to take it personal. Because sometimes this takes time.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at what your stepchild has been through in light of other experiences they've had and where they're at. They might be quite guarded with you for a while.
Sure.
And it has nothing to do with you personally. It has to do with the dynamics,
and
the
their history.
losses.
Yep.
Yeah, everything that they've experienced up until this point. It is also possible that your stepchild could be testing you, not, consciously testing you, but just waiting around to see if you're going to continue to try and connect or if you're going to give up on them.
Yeah. Subconsciously, kind of underneath, they might be thinking, well, if I say no this time, do they really mean it? Are they going to come back?
Do they care enough to keep trying
Yep.
or are they just going to write me off?
Yeah. So don't give up. Don't write them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't let the feeling of rejection crush you. I know it's hard and it's painful, but this might actually trigger more stranded stranger feelings for you if you do get rejected. So be aware that that could happen, but also remember that you're playing the long game here. Look at the bigger picture. It's not just about this one rejection. This is about your future with this child and this family. So hang in there and don't let a setback dictate your whole future.
That's right. Because if you do feel that crushing rejection and it does cause you to give up, then what you're forcing yourself even more into that stranded stranger position, and you're just pulling away and pulling away. So don't let them, don't let that get ruined for you.
Yeah. Hang in there and keep fighting for connection and looking for places where you can connect.
So if I'm a stranded stranger and I just got rejected by my stepchild, are there some practical ways that I can actually just kind of keep the conversation going?
Sure. You could get down again, get on their level, make eye-to-eye contact. And when you're in that moment of being rejected, keep your cool, stay composed, and ask them, is there something different that you would enjoy that we could do together?
Yeah. Maybe it's not about the you. Maybe in step 3, when you identify that thing, you just guessed wrong.
Yeah. Maybe it's the activity itself that they're not interested in, but there's something else that they might be interested in doing with you.
That's right.
So look for some open doors, some other opportunities where you might be able to kind of step into.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if they come home and they're like, oh, my friend went mini golfing last weekend and they're showing some excitement towards something new, step into that. Hey, maybe we could go mini golfing
that sounds fun.
next
How about
weekend.
we go?
Yeah, that sounds really fun. Let's check that place out.
Yeah. You might notice things like if they're really into baseball or, something like that. Like we have a semi-pro team here locally in our city that it's super cheap and easy to go, hey, how about we go check out one of the games? And that might be really fun.
Yeah. Eat some junk food, hang out.
Oh, that sounds great.
And, if they're sitting there glued to the TV and a commercial comes on for an upcoming Disney movie or, something that's coming up and you see their face kind of light up and their eyes get big, that's an open door.
Sure.
Hey, that movie looks interesting. What do you think? Should we go see that?
Yeah.
And see how they respond.
That could be really fun. I like movies when it comes to this kind of connection because you get to hang out a little bit before, but then you get this big chunk of time where it's not awkward. You don't have to like figure out how to keep conversation. You're focused on something else together.
Still together.
Enjoying it and experiencing it together. And then afterwards you get to talk about the movie.
Yeah, you have a subject.
It's actually a really good thing to do with stepkids, especially when there is some tension.
Yeah.
So it's a great first step.
Yeah, and what you're doing when you step out and take these, it is a risk.
Sure.
But when you step out and take these risks and it comes together, you're building memories and connections
Totally.
with your stepchild that wasn't there before.
Yeah. You mentioned the word fear earlier, and I would say in big things and little things, some of the things that I was most afraid of along the way with Annika was actually inviting her into things. There were times where I remember specifically being really fearful, like, oh, she's not going to want to do that, or she's going to react really strongly or badly or whatever. And I'm so glad that I didn't let the fear of that rejection stop me. And there were times where she did reject me. And I just had to keep going. I had to keep showing up because I think she wanted to know, is he going to keep showing up? And so, it's hard. It's hard though. It's hard.
And getting down on her level was sometimes hard for you as well, because she was really into sports, and that's not something that you grew up with.
I'm not a big sports guy. Yeah.
But you were willing to go and, let her shoot hoops and rebound for her. And those were some of your biggest connection points with her, was doing something where you were really awkward and uncomfortable.
That's true,
but that spoke volumes to her that you were willing to enter into her world and hang in there with her, rather than saying, oh, I'm not interested in sports, so I can't participate, or I can't connect with you on that. You actually went there with her, and that meant something.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't avoid that. Now, another thing that we hear sometimes that can throw a monkey wrench in all this is, we've got a whole boatload of kids. Like, you have no idea, and there's no way we can plan all this one-on-one time and special activities. And we get it, right?
That can be hard.
It can be really challenging when you have a lot of kids, but do not let that turn into an excuse.
Yeah.
You might have to be more creative with your time, with your energy, with your money. But what we want to do is get away from this thought of, well, we just can't do that, and get into a thought about, well, what can we do?
Yes. How can we make this work?
We need to think in terms of rhythm, right? It's easy to say we're just so busy and we just can't do it. Instead, we want to think about, well, what if we planned to make sure we had at least one special time with each child every quarter, every 3 months? Can we do that? Or what if it's just a couple times a year? Like, is that okay? Absolutely. And if we keep doing it and we're intentional about it and we're genuine about it and we show up, the kids are going to experience that. And it's okay. They know you got a boatload of kids. Yeah. They realize that they've got a ton of siblings and step siblings. So they know that you don't have a magic wand that can make everything work, and it's okay. Now, if you want to learn a bit more about rhythm, go back to episode 3. We talk a whole lot about finding a healthy rhythm. Yeah. So go check that out, and we'll link to that in the show notes.
And keep in mind too that it doesn't have to be a big, huge activity or ordeal. It can be small things, stuff. Doing a puzzle together, reading a book together, going for a walk, wrestling with the dog on the floor together. It can be small connection points. It doesn't have to be big, huge things. So
don't let the number of kids or the feeling of this being daunting, don't let that stop you.
And don't discount the power of this strategy.
Absolutely.
Don't just throw up your hands and say, I don't have time and energy for that. Right. Really go back. Listen to this over again if you need to. Write the steps down. Meet with your partner and talk about this. This is powerful stuff.
Yeah,
don't disregard it.
And not only for connecting with kids, but for connecting with each other and reduce. That's the whole point, is we're reducing that stranded stranger trap teammate dynamic. We're reducing the tension around the stranded stranger trap teammate
and
dynamic.
Those intense emotions around it.
Now, we've talked a lot about the stranded stranger today. It's been all focused on the step parent. And so maybe if you're a bio parent and you're a trapped teammate, now you're feeling like you're stuck on the outside because we didn't talk about you, right? Well, the reality is all this work is going to help you too. We've said it a couple of times. That see, when the stranded stranger starts to feel like they're more included and they're part of the family, part of the team, then the tension between the two of you also starts to reduce. And that's what we're after with this specific strategy, is reducing that tension. So make sure that you still pay attention to this.
Yeah, and the other point I want to make is that when you are the trapped teammate in the middle of the tug of war, having to make hard decisions between your kids and your spouse, when you practice this strategy, when you really start to make a dent in this, your partner's going to be more patient with you when it is that moment that you're having to make a tough decision and when you're feeling trapped in the middle.
They'll probably show up better.
Yeah, they're going to show up better. You're going to feel more connection in that moment, more understanding. And by default, they're going to be more connected to you when they're feeling more connected to your kids.
Yeah. But what if a trapped teammate is still saying, hey, come on, give me a little bit more. What about me?
Well, don't worry. We've got you covered, I promise. We've decided to add one more episode to this series. Next week, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest challenges that the trapped teammate feels, and it's a big emotion. I'm not going to give it away. Got to show up next week because we're going to help you out. If you're the bio parent, the trapped teammate, and stuck in that tug of war, we've got something big for you next week.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss it.
Make sure you show up for that. Otherwise, that makes this episode a wrap.
Practice these 5 steps and make it happen.
And we'll see you next week.